Hey everyone, welcome to GiantBomb.com's reviewing of video games. We don't have we're here to review the Tetris Effect. It's just Tetris Effect.
Tetris. It's not
It's not the
the Tetris Effect is a thing
yes.
with its own Wikipedia article.
Yeah,
and all.
That's how you know it's real.
Yeah,
Because it's got its own thing.
Tetris Effect.
Yes. I'm here with Ben Pack, who has reviewed Tetris Effect.
I have.
It's available now, PlayStation 4 only.
Yeah, $40.
$40. VR, PlayStation VR compatible.
Yeah,
and it's Tetris.
it's Tetris. Yeah, so kind of that's the thing here. You know, we can talk a lot about the game, and we're going to talk a lot about the game, but at the end of the day, it's Tetris. And if you really don't like Tetris, probably not going to like this game.
It's not going to sell you. It is still Tetris underneath it all. It's
Yes.
not, if you already know you don't like Tetris, that's probably boom, done.
That's the thing to know up front is this game, everything you're doing in it, different kinds of Tetrises.
Yeah, skins on Tetris, flips on the rules of Tetris.
But at the end of the day, it's Tetris.
Yeah.
And I think it's a hell of a Tetris. Just talking about the physics of it, I guess you could say, just how the pieces feel and fall and the rules that are applied to them, that stuff feels like as good as it's ever been to me.
Mhm.
The rules of Tetris are kind of constantly evolving and
Right.
change from game to game. There is an organization that controls Tetris and decides all that. And it's not like they put out patch notes or anything for Tetris. There's not like official statements. I mean, there might be. But
I think I want to say that there is a page that kind of details some of that stuff. But anyway,
but they don't get out there and they're not like talking about this time it's this
next week we're nerfing the straight piece.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of it. You come in and you know and you understand that it's Tetris, but right away I could tell from somebody I personally have a deep, long history with Tetris. I've played a lot of Tetris games and a lot of hours of those games, and this feels right up there with the best of them to me, just in terms of we've talked about how some Tetris games can get kind of ruinous with the infinite spin. I think Tetris Worlds, you said it was was one of those ones. Some are a little too stripped down for my liking. Original Tetris didn't have a hold piece, and there are some kinds of Tetris games that emulate
that's the sort of stuff
sort
as the rules have evolved to include like the fast drop, the slow, the hard drop, the soft drop,
T-spinning.
And
so this feels very, I guess you could say, modern Tetris. But then kind of once you get into the trappings around it, I feel like that's where this game really flourishes. So it's produced by Mizuguchi, famously of Luminous and Rez and a few other games.
It seems like you can see a lot of that. Like in a lot of ways, this is Tetris with the skin concept of Luminous.
Yeah, very, very much. So I hadn't actually played a lot of Luminous. Really, my first experience with it was that remaster that came out this year. So seeing that and kind of thinking about that while playing this, yes, it is Tetris X Luminous in many ways. Because kind of the main way to play the game is the journey mode. It's kind of use huge quotation marks, story mode.
Sure.
There's not like dialogue or anything, but it's kind of it takes you on an emotional journey rather than a text-based one.
There are lyrics to the songs.
There's lyrics to the songs, and there's common themes, about being kind of together, and we're all in this. There's a lot of world music, kind of tribal beats, that sort of stuff. It all feels thematically constant, even though you're working with a lot of different backgrounds. So, one stage might be you're flowing through the ocean with dolphins, and another stage might be you're in Hawaii and there's, hula music and volcanoes and stuff like that going on, or you're in a space station. They all kind of flow together. So each of the levels is kind of a chunk of 2 or 3 or 4 different songs and stages that are each stage has a unique background, a unique song.
And unique sound effects for like rotating the piece and dropping the pieces and stuff.
Yeah, so rotating the pieces will do sound effects, and clearing lines will progress you through. So kind of on a standard map, you have to clear 36 lines to get to the next stage. And within that one stage, you might have 3 or 4 different backgrounds that kind of change as you're clearing lines. And I'd say there's maybe, I don't know, 20 of those, roughly?
I feel like there's probably more in journey mode. It's probably somewhere around that number.
Yeah,
maybe a little bit more than that. But then there are some that I think only surface in the effect modes or whatever.
And I feel like that journey mode. It's I really like the pacing of it, and not just in that. I think so. It starts. You can have beginner, normal, and expert modes.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the normal ramps up in difficulty just hard enough. That last level can get really tough. But the nice thing about it is even in the harder levels, they kind of we had Mizuguchi in the studio talking about the game, and he really wanted to stress the fact that he didn't want to just make a game that got harder and more stressful. He wanted to make something that kind of ebbed and flowed. And you see that where it'll ramp up in difficulty and the speed that in which pieces are dropping, and then dip back down. After
we talked about the way a stage will evolve over the course of it, and that speed is part of the, like you get to phase 2 of the song after clearing a handful of lines, and the speed is going to change as well. Mm-hmm. And so it seems like, especially in the late game, it seems like a lot of them have a pace of like, it starts at kind of a reasonable pace, and then there's a feverish thing in the middle.
Yep.
And you frantically have to clear some lines, and then it'll come back down for the end of it. And so how do you find the difficulty overall? Like just playing through the journey mode in normal, you say it feels like pretty nice, but does any of that catch you off guard, or just kind of did you get used to the ebbs and flows of it? Or
I definitely found myself getting caught off guard. And that, I was failing here and there. I feel like with Tetris, if you just make like 3 bad moves in a row, mm-hmm. you're going to set yourself back substantially. And so when it jumps from, let's say, line speed 4 to line speed 8, and suddenly you're just not ready for those first couple of pieces, you can definitely get caught off guard. But as I played it more and more and got used to the way that the tracks moved and went back for higher scores, I could have an easier time with it. And that also helped with one of kind of the larger issues that has come up with that game, which is it can be a little hard to take it all in while you're playing, especially your first couple times going
just
through.
The aesthetic nature of it.
Yeah, because these backgrounds are really visually interesting. The way that the sounds interact, I kind of didn't notice that I was creating a lot of these sound effects my first time playing through until I got to a point where I was intentionally slowing down and looking at the board, and I noticed that the music had slowed down a little bit too, and then I moved around a little bit, and it was just like, oh shit, this is really cool. But like I said, if you're playing, especially on harder difficulties, especially on later stages, it's easy to not be able to take in a lot of that stuff, which is what really makes this game unique, is kind of the experience around the Tetris.
Yeah, for sure. I'd say so I've played a chunk of the game myself. The one thing that I found that it's interesting. It seems like a very smart thing is when that speed change happens. That's like kind of the only constant sound effect in the whole thing is that bell. There's like a ding, and you train yourself to respond to the bell. Like, okay, here it comes.
It's either good or bad.
Right, yeah.
But you're ready.
You're ready for a change. And I thought that was an interesting way to do that in a game that is all about kind of each skin having its own sound that goes with it. So the game, let's talk about the visual stuff for a little bit.
Yeah.
And the game, obviously, you can play it in VR, you can play it out of VR. How do you feel about it in both forms? Like, is it a great VR game? Is it like harder to see the surroundings in VR because you're that much more immersed in the pieces, or is it the opposite true? Like, how's that stuff shake out?
I found it's gone a little all over the place for me in VR. Right out the gate, I will say with confidence, and as somebody who hasn't played a lot of VR, this is my favorite VR experience that I have experienced. Using the PSVR, it's PSVR only, we should say. It really does. So Tetris, let me back up a little bit. Tetris is a game that I find, and that there's been studies on that kind of back this up, and this is the Tetris Effect, you get locked into Tetris.
Right.
It kind of takes over your thought because you're thinking about the pieces that are falling, you're thinking about your hold pieces, you're thinking about the pieces that are coming up, you're thinking about maintaining your strategy, can I keep this line going on the left here so I can clear multiple Tetrises back to back?
Yeah.
And all that's kind of wrapped up, and then it helped that Tetris kind of classically has had a really good musical score to go along with the games.
Sure, yeah.
That kind of just added to it a little bit. And then the backgrounds of Tetris games were really nothing special. It's just like art.
So some Russian buildings. Yeah.
Some very basic stuff. But really putting it on the VR helmet, even the first time I did it, and just playing a very easy level on very, very low difficulty, just kind of so I could take it all in, was great. It alleviates a lot of issues I have with VR, which is I don't have to move around a lot. This is a sedentary experience. You have the helmet on, but you're playing with the controller like you would be normally.
Yeah.
All you're doing is looking around and seeing the different, if you're floating through space, you're seeing stars past you. If there's like a hot air balloon level, and you can look around. And I noticed in the hot air balloon level, I was able to read the logos and the stuff on the balloons that I wasn't able to in 2D. At least on my first pass of it.
Yeah.
So I feel like the VR experience, it does add a lot to the game. I feel like it's the fact that the music is mostly non-vocal. It's a lot of stuff that you can just kind of have on ambient helps. It's not anything either too fast-paced or crazy either, so it's not taking you out of the experience.
Right, yeah.
It's just a lot of it. If you like to chill out, but also play Tetris. It hits both of those fairly well for me. I don't think you necessarily lose anything from playing it outside of Tetris.
Or outside of VR.
Yes, outside of VR. I think it's a little easier to do some of the more fast-paced things outside of VR, though I have had really good games in VR. The biggest issue I found in VR is keeping track of your hold piece and your next coming piece, because you have to kind of look up and to the left or up and to the right to see them. You can manipulate the camera, and so maybe
does that happen also in VR?
Yes.
You can okay, because I know outside of VR you can use the analog sticks to kind of just position
you can
Tetris
pull it
where
in,
you want it.
You can angle your view of it, and that does help a little bit. I just wish on that front, for as far as the camera goes, that there is a default, like you could lock in, like I start out most matches by zooming in for like a half a second. And I just wish I could set that to be my blanket.
Oh, sure.
Because, there's so many modes that start out so quickly that you don't really want it.
You don't have time to zoom in.
You don't have time to mess around and get your angle just right. I wish there was maybe a unified, like, I like it like this. You set it once in options, and that's the default.
Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, that's the kind of audio visual aesthetic. Talk about the journey mode. That's maybe like an hour, 45 minutes or something, like assuming you're not losing, I guess.
I would say
if you were playing straight through,
maybe closer to 2, because I feel like those chunks take about 15 to 20 minutes on the longer ones.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And then especially if you're playing on expert, you have to clear more lines to advance through. But I'd say on normal, you're looking at around 2 hours.
Okay.
That last level is a bit longer than the other ones. But yeah, it's worth noting that there is a theater mode you unlock for it after completion, where if you want to just put on that VR helmet and sail through these crazy backgrounds,
take the Tetris out of it.
Yeah, you can totally do that, which I have found to be pleasing to some. I was showing this game off to some friends the other day, and it's just a cool way to experience. It's like a good entry point for VR in a way.
Here's a very low impact, low key thing.
It's like an iTunes visualizer,
right? Yeah,
but you could be in it and make the sounds a little different by pressing these buttons, which is cool. So that journey mode is roughly, it's a couple hours. You can play through it front to back in all in one sitting if you want. There's a mode for that. I'm playing through on expert as we speak. I got about 2/3 of the way through, and it is hard. Yeah, and that is coming from someone who considers someone pretty decent at Tetris.
Yeah. So the other section of the game is the effect modes. These are just kind of like little one-offs. These seem pretty in line with a lot of the official
bonus
Tetris modes, Ultra and Marathon.
Yeah.
Like those are all
Marathon,
canonical.
Sprint. There's been a mystery mode before in other games where it kind of throws random things at you. You're gonna get the same piece 7 times in a row, or it flips upside down and the controls are backwards. And that one's extra fucked in VR.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what.
Oh, really? Oh.
But yeah, so they're kind of broken up into different groupings. There's like classic, which is your marathon, your sprint. Marathon's clear 150 lines. Sprints clear 40 lines as fast as you can, or marathon might be 300. And then there's like focus mode, these are kind of the harder ones. There's
more puzzle oriented stuff.
All clear, which is you're gonna get 4 pieces and you have to clear all the blocks on screen, or clear out the infected pieces. It gives you kind of a half-filled well with random placings and random pieces.
Some of the pieces are lit up, and clearing those lit up pieces gets you points.
And I think that they've imported a lot of good classic ones like Mystery, like I was saying, and I can't speak for sure. I haven't played every Tetris game, but it feels like a couple of these are new to this game. And I feel like they do a good job of teaching you how to be better at Tetris. The line clear one that I was talking about, where it's kind of a puzzle.
Right.
It's more puzzle oriented than normal Tetris, but it was teaching me to look out for how to clear certain line configurations that I wouldn't normally be able to clear, because
it's like, hey, here's one piece, you can clear some chunk of lines with it, and you'll clear all of these with these 4 pieces, but what do you actually do?
Right.
Yeah.
And it kind of uses color coding to show you where, like, if you're overwhelmed and don't know where to start, it'll be, each piece is color coded. Each of the different tetraminos have their own color, and you'll see the lines have kind of the same color that they want you to clear from that piece.
Right, okay.
And so it kind of teaches you to look out for, I never thought of using the S block to clear this line if I know I have a T block coming, because then I can just do this and this. And it all comes back to Tetris.
Right, yeah.
So it's all like, these are just different abilities that all come together in a normal game of Tetris.
Yeah.
But broken out into their own.
And stuff that like that mode in particular seems like it could be really good at teaching you some of the like more modern Tetris concepts of T-spins.
Totally, yeah. You have to start once you get to 16 clears or something. It starts throwing in a little bit of T-spin there.
And then so master is it master mode?
Yeah.
Tell me about the M speeds.
Yeah, so it's similar to I believe they call it G20 in Tetris Grandmaster, where it is the speed at which the Tetris pieces no longer fall. There is no more falling animation. They come from the top. You still have control, so you can still, if you're holding to the left, they will veer to the left. If you're holding to the right, like you can get all the way before you hit the bottom, but you have to maneuver it across the ground. So like, let's say you're starting out with a flat bottom, and it's just a square drops.
Yeah.
You can move that square to the left, to the right. If it's a T, you can spin it, but the gravity just kind of locks in at a point, and that's what scales up. It doesn't get faster because it's as fast as you can go.
Right.
It just leaves you less time to fiddle around and futz around
before
with the pieces.
It latches in.
Before it locks in.
Yeah.
And that's really good at teaching you about, when speed gets high enough, it's less about creating a line block and clearing multiple Tetrises. It's more about keeping a level playing field, because horizontal movement becomes as important as vertical, or more important than vertical movement.
Right.
So I think that's a nice little. There is that like high end. If you are competitive at Tetris and want to fucking drill down and get, they have leaderboards and for everything. They have tons of leaderboards in this game, which is really cool. And that's just some of the trappings around these modes. I really like that there is kind of this hub world where you can see, you get your own avatar.
You see kind of your friends and stuff like that.
Yeah, you can see everyone's level. It feeds into they're doing weekend challenges where it's like, okay, play something from the classic playlist, and then if you do it, you can get an avatar. And if the community as a whole clears a certain number of lines,
whatever it is,
everyone unlocks something else.
Yeah. So far, it sounds like that. They've only had one weekend, I think, since
they had one in the beta.
Oh, okay,
too.
Yeah. But it sounds like they cleared it pretty quickly.
Yeah, I tuned in on the first day, and it was already at 55% or something.
I think by the time I got in, it was like 85 already or something. I'm like, well, I'll contribute a little bit and get something, but yeah.
And so I think that they have potential there to keep people coming back. I feel like a lot of the concerns for this game come down to value. I feel like it's like gameplay, you kind of know what you're going to get. The visuals are cool, the music is cool, but it's one of those things where at the end of the day, you're going to pay $40 for Tetris.
Yeah.
And so what can they do to make that more appealing? And I think that having these weekend activities, especially if they get more weird with them, we've only seen the one. And so far it seems like it's like play one from this playlist, but maybe, it's get X number of T-spins, or who
Oh,
knows
right,
what
yeah.
who
Yeah,
knows
I
how crazy they
don't know
can go
what
with
they're-
them.
yeah.
But it's definitely something that's going to keep me personally coming back and checking it out for as long as I feel like they have interesting things to do with it.
Right. Yeah.
If they start recycling them after
if it's
a
just
month,
like you're still just clearing lines, but now it's this other mode, and you're like, okay, well,
that's less interesting, and I feel like that would be a bummer. But at the end of the, I keep saying it is Tetris, but that's really Tetris Effect is, I would say, probably my favorite way to experience and play Tetris so far. There's some other really amazing Tetris games out there. Tetris DS has probably up to now been my favorite go-to.
Yeah.
But that was more so they made a really good portable Tetris game that has some cool other modes. Like I really liked the auxiliary modes of Tetris DS. But as far as just stripped down, I want to play some Tetris. This, I think, is the best it's ever been. Because it does have that. It has that low barrier to entry. I've been playing some with my partner who doesn't really know anything about Tetris, but we can put it to beginner mode. And
like beginner mode will turn off like the game over and stuff, right?
Well, there are some modes you can play that do have that turned off. Beginner mode just kind of lowers the speed and how many lines you need to clear.
Oh, okay, all right.
As far as journey mode goes,
Right.
But there are a lot of no fail modes, which is just important to mention. There's a lot of like chill marathon, which is clear 300 lines as long as it takes you. If you hit the top, it's just going to put you back on the bottom. Clear out your well.
Completely. Okay. I wasn't sure what it did. I hadn't tried it.
And a lot of those modes you can play on any of the stages that you have in journey mode. So if you have a certain stage that you really like the visuals of, but it's so frantic playing because it's one of the later stages, you can go and kind of experience it in that mode.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I mean, it's a weird thing. Like, it is Tetris, but it's Tetris is a fantastic game.
Yeah.
Tetris is we're asked a lot about like, what's the best game ever made, all this other stuff, and I feel like the canonical answer is at some point just Tetris.
Yeah.
Even if it might not be my favorite game, it's like, well, Tetris is time tested in a lot of weird ways, and it's
and you know what it is. You can't say like what's the best game of all time. You can't say Mario. Because it's like, well, what Mario? And everyone comes to Mario's for different games. Tetris, you know what Tetris is.
Yeah. And even then it's like, well, are you saying Mario is still good now, or was it only good then?
Right.
Or like, Tetris is kind of an eternal thing.
Even the bad Tetris games, like you can strip away a lot of the bullshit around them, and there's some good Tetris in there.
At some point, they are still adhering to the rules of Tetris.
Yeah.
Occasionally. I don't know. I've played some bad feeling Tetrises, where the block movement was off and stuff like that. So, but that sounds like, the block movement, rotation, all that other stuff is what you want, right?
It does. It does feel tight. My other kind of concern with this game, I wish they had some sort of co-op experience, some sort of multiplayer, even if it's like pass and play between rounds, something where it's two people working on a same board or something. I understand that there's not a competitive mode because this game is very much about chilling out and playing Tetris, even when it's hard.
And also it's about being a VR game.
Yes.
Which is not, you can't hook up two VR helmets to the same PlayStation. So then at that point you're making an online game and netcode. Like it's kind of a different thing at that. Well, whatever. I'm not going to make excuses. Like, I tend to think it should have a multiplayer mode, but it is what it is.
Just seeing on how well they did all the other stuff in the game, I think that they could have done something unique or cool with this as far as multiplayer goes. But again, that's a minor concern because I feel like this game is social enough that I brought it to a party and 4 or 5 of us played it for 4 hours, just passing around the controller because it's Tetris. You can jump in, you can clear lines. Even if you're bad at it, you can have fun clearing lines. And even if you're bad at it, you put on that VR helmet and it's a trip.
Yeah.
It really is. Like it's hard to explain, but it's one of those things that when you're in it and the music is flowing and you have control of the music and you're in these visual soundscapes, it's the ultimate form of a visualizer. I remember how fucking cool visualizers were when MP3s.
They're still cool.
Yes, they're still cool.
They're still cool.
And they're still evolving.
Yes. But nothing got better than Milk Drop.
Yeah, that's true.
What are you going to do? Yeah. So yeah, it seems like that this, thematically, this ties into a lot of the stuff that you think about when you think about Tetsuya Mizuguchi. That kind of togetherness and that sort of stuff is like there's a lot of that vibe in Rez, and a lot of the people who worked on Rez Infinite worked on this as well. Some of the same studios and stuff like that. Like I guess you kind of see that pedigree. Maybe some of the stuff from Rez Infinite here, and that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, he definitely is. Like, I mean, he already had a style carved out for him,
right.
But seeing him bring it to something that everyone already knows, Tetris, is cool, right? The core, like, and that was the thing about Luminous, is my understanding, is the core game of Luminous it's a fine puzzle game.
Yeah,
like,
it's
not
good.
hugely innovative or anything.
It's
just smart and clicks, but everything around it was what really kind of drew people in.
And you started getting with Luminous, you would start getting your favorite skins and stuff like that, and all that.
And it's the same with Tetris. Like, I love Fiery Soul. I love Yin and Yang. I like the last one, Metamorphosis, quite a bit. It's just, they're all similar in style, but they're all unique enough that, and sometimes I hate the jazz level, but a lot of people think it's really cool because it's just so interactive, and it's one of the more interactive ones. And just like, it's one of those games that leaves me in such a headspace where you enjoy that jazz level, man, because I got these other levels.
Yeah, it's disgusting. no, but yeah, it's definitely. It seems like poised in a way that, like, hey, this game VR technology has gotten to a certain point where, like, that type of immersion can happen. Like, it feels like a real coalescence, I guess, of a lot of the ideas that Tetsuya Mizuguchi has brought to games over the years, which is a fascinating place to be.
Yeah.
So you gain levels, you gain XP. Like, have you seen anything? I know that there's some late game unlocks of, like, skins and stuff like that, or
there's skins
skin.
and avatars. But other than that, I'm not really seeing a lot. And the progression is pretty rough. And it seems to be tied. I haven't tested this out exactly, but it seems to be tied on how well, like, if you have a really good game of an effect mode, you're gonna get a level and a half versus journey mode. If you do kind of floundering, you might get half a level.
Right.
I wish there was maybe a little more to unlock, because we got skins, avatars. You can change the background music on menus and stuff like that, and you're unlocking different songs, like from the songs from the effect mode that you can use, and stuff like that. I don't really know what maybe different Tetramino skins would be cool.
So they do have an option in there, because it's one of the things that I guess is part of the Tetris rules, is that the blocks are supposed to be a set color.
Yeah.
And it has an option in there that will let you turn the official colors back on, because their skins have dictated them changing that stuff up. Yeah,
because like in the fiery Soul stage, your blocks are all look like fire, and there's no color coding there. I think that's good on Tetris HQ to have that be in there as a mandatory thing, where it's like, if you want to just see Tetris,
official Tetris,
as Tetris goes,
lock it down, no fun allowed.
That's right.
Everyone knows Tetris isn't fun. It's a tool to be used.
That's right.
Yeah. So this sounds like quite the package.
Yeah.
It sounds like you liked it quite a bit. And it seems like it comes together pretty well. For something that you look at and go like, oh, Tetris with, like, Luminous skins and it's in VR, like, it feels like pretty easy to explain. But when you actually break down, that sounds like maybe way more than the one sentence description.
Totally. I mean, when this game was revealed, I remember that it was right around E3. They had that trailer come out, and everyone was just like, yes, cool, I'm sold. Mizuguchi, Tetris, makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And it was kind of just waiting to see if it was executed upon as if everyone was expecting it to. And it seems like it's surpassed that to a degree. I feel like the journey mode, the levels really do have a good flow to them. There's just something so one more game about this game. It has that one more game factor really well.
Yeah. And let's talk score. What are you thinking here?
Honestly, and this is, like I said, this is coming from somebody who has quite the fondness for Tetris, and somebody who would have, if there was big Tetris problems with this game, I would have been all over them, because if you fuck up Tetris, you fuck with me. So I'm giving this game.
Keep your big Tetris problems out of here.
That's right. I'm giving this game 5 stars.
Cool.
I think that like it's the coolest Tetris experience I've ever had. And that's saying a lot for me. And I think that even out of VR, I would recommend this game. Even if you don't have access to a PSVR and aren't interested in getting one, I still think just the base game, playing through, watching all those modes is totally worth the purchase.
Cool. All right. Well, Ben, thank you very much for your time. And that's going to do it for our review of Tetris Effect, available now on the PlayStation 4 with optional PlayStation VR support. We'll see you next time. I'm Jeff Gerstmann. He's Ben Pack.
Bye.
Thanks.